listeners, and welcome to yet another episode of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast with me, your host, Oluoke. Today is episode 59, and yet again, we've had an eventful week of football all over Europe as the climax of the season comes about. We also have the news to bring you from the NFF, which was announced on Sunday that Nigeria have appointed Jose Peseiro, the Portuguese coach, as the new national team head coach on a 12-month deal. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So what are the things we know so far? Jose Peseiro has finally been announced as the Nigeria head coach. We know he was initially supposed to take over after the Africa Cup of Nations, which Eguavon was the caretaker manager for. But because of how they deemed Eguavon's performance, even though he got knocked out of the round of 16, they decided to continue with Eguavon for the crucial World Cup qualifiers against Ghana. And we all know how that went in the end. So that's all done now. And obviously, in light of what I brought last week with the NFF owing Grenot Raw a lot of money for his salary, for his contract being terminated early, I think that has played a part in the thinking behind them offering Jose Peseiro just a 12-month contract. So if we're thinking about 12 months from now, I'm not quite sure if that means it would run up until the summer next year when the AFCON 2023 takes place, or if it's before AFCON 2023. But you like to think that NFF, even with all the issues they have, they're at least smart enough to offer the man a contract right up until AFCON. So all his tasks ahead: qualify for AFCON, with the qualifiers starting in June. Also, I have to announce that Sao Tome and Principe will no longer be one of our opponents in the AFCON qualification group. They've been replaced by Mauritius, who won their appeal against Sao Tome and Principe. I'm not sure exactly what the reasons were, but that means that, to be honest, there should be no issues for not qualifying. I mean, I know Mauritius has beautiful women and beautiful beaches, but I don't believe their football team should be proving a threat or posing any sort of a threat to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. What else does Peseiro have to contend with? We've got a few friendly games, so it's been announced that he will take charge for the friendly games against Mexico and Ecuador, starting in literally just over a week. So the day after the Champions League final, which is on May 28th, on May 29th, Nigeria played a friendly game against Mexico in the USA. What's also been announced: Finidi George will come in to become the first assistant of the national team. I think that's an interesting appointment. He was Enyimba's coach last season. I'm not sure how well Enyimba did in the MPFL, but I kind of like the idea of them keeping one of the legends of the game who's done really well for us. Although if you look at Enyimba's performances in the league, they only managed to finish 6th. So we'll see how that one goes. Salisu Yusuf remains within the setup. I don't know what this man has done to the NFF that they must keep him in by any means necessary, despite his corruption past. He's the second assistant, and he'll remain the head coach of the CHAN and U23 teams, which just seems ridiculous. Usman Abdallah is the third assistant, and Eboboritse Uwejamomere will be the match analyst. And former Nigeria goalkeeper Ike Shorunmu will be the goalkeeper trainer. I don't know what his credentials are, but it's NFF. Let's see how it goes, guys. So yeah, anything to be aware of with Peseiro? Well, he was a forward in his playing days, but he never played higher than the Portuguese second division. He's had a bit more success as a coach, but he's not been the most successful coach by any means. But his club sheet looks all right, you know. He was Al Ahly's manager between 2015 and 2016. He also managed Porto briefly in 2016 and managed Braga as well. And he was also Sporting Lisbon's manager in 2018. So that's three of the biggest 4 clubs in Portugal that he's managed. So he must have some credentials about him. Between 2020 and 2021, he was Venezuela's head coach, but his win percentage was only 10%. Although, to be fair to him, you could argue that Venezuela and Bolivia are by far the worst teams in South America, where you contend with having to face Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Uruguay, Chile, Colombia, Paraguay. Like, they've got some serious powerhouses in South America. So it's not like Africa where you've been playing some friendly games against, or some qualification games against Sierra Leone, or, you know, having to play Burundi. You know, like, you're going against the heavyweights all the time. So let's just reserve all judgment till we see him actually get in the dugout and how he performs. I'm also hoping that with him coming in, we could just see people be appointed to the national team on merit. Like, call up players based on if they really deserve to be called up. And that would be amazing to see. But yeah, we wish Jose Peseiro all the best. I mean, we need it. It's a shame we have no World Cup to contend with. But look, you have to bounce back. And no matter what, if you're Nigerian, you're Nigerian. It's never going to change. So we wish them all the best as they prepare for AFCON qualifiers and also the friendly games against Mexico and Ecuador. So yeah, moving on to the league performances for the week, starting with the Premier League as usual. Leicester City's Ademola Lookman started, and Kelechi Iheanacho was an unused sub last week Wednesday in a 3-0 drubbing over Norwich at home. And then both of them were unused subs over the weekend as Leicester thrashed Watford 5-1 away. To be honest, Leicester looked really, really good, especially Jamie Vardy, Maddison and Harvey Barnes. Next up for Leicester, they played Chelsea away on Thursday night. So let's see if any of them come into the team. And then they round up the Premier League season on Sunday with a home game against Southampton, who earlier tonight lost 2-1 to Liverpool to keep Liverpool in the title race going into the final day of the season. Alex Iwobi's Everton, he played well in a 0-0 draw away to Watford last week Wednesday. And he also started again in a 3-2 loss at home to Brentford on Sunday. To be fair, they were a bit unlucky because they went 1-0 up through Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was initially Richarlison's goal. They gave the DCL. And then they had this young centre-back who was playing Brainwaith. And he got sent off after like 20 minutes, just making a ridiculous foul on Ivan Toney. So they had to play majority of the game with 10 men, and they just couldn't hold out. So fair play to Brentford. They play Crystal Palace at home on Thursday night. So that's an opportunity for them to, if they win the game, they will confirm their safety in the Prem. Simply because at the moment they're 2 points ahead of Burnley and 1 point ahead of Leeds. So if they win their game in hand, we know what that means. I'm very worried for Leeds United, but to be honest, I'm worried about Arsenal after what happened this week, which I'll touch on anyway. And then Everton finished the league season playing Arsenal away on Sunday, so we'll see how that game goes. On the 19th, moving on to Watford, we know where they are, already relegated. Samuel Kalu did start their home game against Everton, which was 0-0, and Etebo came on for the final minute. And then Kalu started yet again over the weekend in the 5-1 loss to Leicester. Etebo came on for the final 10 minutes, and he gave away the ball for one of Harvey Barnes' goal. Honestly, man, Etebo does not look like prime quality. And, I mean, it's been a disaster. But anyway, last game of the season for Watford, they go away to Chelsea. So we could say that they're pretty much dead and gone because there's no way they're getting any points from that game. And unfortunately, it looks like Frank Rijkaard's season is over because he's still injured for Brentford. Other fixtures to be aware about in the Prem. Last week, Wednesday, Chelsea beat Leeds United 3-0. That pretty much sealed Champions League qualification for them. Man City thrashed Wolves 5-1. Kevin De Bruyne scored 4 goals. Incredible performance. On Thursday, Arsenal capitulated and lost 3-0 to Tottenham. We're not going to talk too much about that. And then on Sunday, Tottenham then beat Burnley 1-0. It's pretty much guaranteed. Well, they need 1 point to qualify for the Champions League on the final day. Aston Villa drew 1-1 on Crystal Palace. Leeds United got a last-minute equaliser to draw 1-1 at home to Brighton, which pretty much kept them just above Burnley in the relegation zone. And West Ham drew 2-2 against Manchester City. They were 2-0 up at halftime, but Man City clawed their way back. And Mahrez missed a late penalty, which would have won the game for Man City. Wolverhampton drew 1-1 with Norwich on Sunday as well. And then earlier on Monday night, yesterday, Arsenal there lost 2-0 to Newcastle. So Champions League is pretty much done for Arsenal. As I already mentioned earlier today, Liverpool beat Southampton 2-1 to pretty much take the league, the race for the title to the last day of the season. So last day of the season is on Sunday, but before then there are 3 games in hand. Everton play Crystal Palace, which I already mentioned, involving our player. Aston Villa play Burnley at home. If Burnley can get some points from that, they will leapfrog Leeds United because of Leeds United's terrible goal difference. And then Chelsea play Leicester on Thursday. And then final game of the season, 4 p.m. on Sunday. Arsenal host Everton at the Emirates. Brentford hosts Leeds United. That's going to be a tough game for Leeds. Brighton hosts West Ham. Burnley play Newcastle at Tottenham, so Burnley would fancy their chances. Chelsea host Watford at Stamford Bridge. Crystal Palace play Man United at Selhurst Park, so that's going to be a tough game for Man United. Leicester host Southampton at King Power. Liverpool wrap up their season at home at Anfield against Wolverhampton. Manchester City play against Aston Villa. So there's obviously a storyline if Steven Gerrard could be able to help Liverpool win the league, but I'm pretty sure Man City are going to thrash them 4 or 5-0. And then Norwich play Tottenham at Carrow Road. I mean, the only chance Arsenal could make top 4 is if Norwich somehow win against Tottenham, but I'm pretty sure Tottenham will thrash Norwich. So Europa League it is for Arsenal, you know, no tears to be shed. But it's not been a good football year for me, considering Nigeria or Arsenal. But we go again. Football, there's always new games, new seasons, and new challenges to take your mind away from it. Moving on to Serie A, Victor Osimhen scored his 14th Serie A goal of the season. What was quite a brilliant header, and a 3-0 win over Genoa. Just crossing from Di Lorenzo, attacked the ball with ferociousness and just nodded it right into the bottom left corner of the goal. I mean, I would love to have a striker like Osimhen at Arsenal who could just dominant in the air, dominant on his feet. 7 goals. He scored 7 of his league goals with his head. He scored 7 with his foot. So, pretty impressive. He'll be in Champions League next season as long as no one signs him in the summer. So, we're really looking forward to seeing how Osimhen performs in the tournament. Next up for them, they wrap up the season away to Spezia on Sunday. Ola Aina started and played excellently well in a 1-0 win for Torino against Verona away on Saturday. They wrap up their season on Friday night against Roma. I believe this is being done because Roma will be playing in the UEFA Conference League final 1 week from tomorrow. So Wednesday next week. So probably to give them a bit of time to prepare for that game. Joel Obi Salernitana, he actually started the game in a 1-1 draw away to Empoli on Saturday. They need 1 point from their final game at home against Udinese to avoid relegation. So big effort for Salernitana, and it's always nice to at least have a Super Eagles player or ex-Super Eagles player continue to remain in one of the top leagues. Speaking of relegation, Venezia's David Kirk and Bowie, they've been relegated to Serie B after a 1-1 draw away to Roma. David Kirk actually scored the goal in that game, and Bowie came on for the last 10 minutes. They're both on loan to Venezia, so we'll see what happens with both of them next season. I can see Kirk getting a good move because he's had a decent season. Bowie will go back to Benfica, and we'll see what happens with him and the next stage of his career. If I'm him, I would do what he did last season and go back to the Dutch league and play for one of the better teams, because he was at 20 last season and started almost all their games. So I think that would be the sensible move, but we'll see what happens. They wrap up their season on Sunday at home to Cagliari, so that should be an interesting game. Moving on to La Liga, Samuel Chukwueze started in a 5-1 win over Rayo Vallecano on Thursday night, and he also started over the weekend in a 2-1 loss to Real Sociedad. And their final game of the season is on Sunday away to Barcelona, and they need to win that game to get into the Conference League. If not, there'll be no Europe for them this season. Aziza Oshuala's Barcelona women's team finished the league with 30 wins from 30 games. She came on for the final 28 minutes in this 2-1 win over Atletico Madrid. Rajidat Ajibade was playing for Atletico Madrid, and she looked quite lively. Positively, Aziza Oshuala, despite her injuries, has finished as the Pichichi top scorer in La Liga. So she's joint with the player I mentioned from Real Madrid last week. So they've got a big game this weekend. They'll be playing in the UEFA Women's Champions League final on Saturday against Lyon. Hopefully we can see Oshuala start the game, or at least make a telling contribution like she did last year. And what an amazing season she's had and she's having. And then we know that in the summer she'll be battling it out in the African Women's Nations Cup for Nigeria. So that should be nice preparation for her. Moving on to Umar Sadiq. Umar Sadiq's Almeria are still top of the league after a 2-0 win over Real Sociedad's B team on Friday night. They will get promoted this weekend if they win at home to Alcoyon on Saturday, which is where Nwakali was on loan last season. So it'll be nice to finally report on Umar Sadiq playing in La Liga rather than Segunda. So congratulations are in order for him. In the Bundesliga, Taiwo Awoniyi reached 15 league goals for the season, as I predicted, after scoring 2 goals on Saturday in their final game of the season in a home win over Bochum. They won 3-2, and they secured Europa League football. It's really unlucky because they only missed out on Champions League football by 1 point, So it's still crazy to me that he somehow wasn't called up for the national team. But I'll reserve judgment until I see the actual Africa Cup of Nations qualifier list. Kevin Agbogma's Hoffenheim, he started as they lost 5-1 to Borussia Mönchengladbach away on Saturday. So they've ended their season quite dismally, but they finish in 9th place. So not that bad. They go again next season and we'll see how they do. Dixon Abiyama was an unused sub for Greater Fürth as they got binned back to the second division in Germany, losing 2-1 to Aalborg on the final game of the season. In Ligue 1, Moses Simon was an unused sub on last week Wednesday, in a 2-1 win over Rennes at home. And that was probably because he just won the French Cup a few days before. And then he started on Saturday night as they lost 3-2 away to Lyon in the league. But they're very, very comfortable. They're ninth. So they'll wrap up their season on Saturday against already relegated Saint-Etienne at home. And then Terre Mofi and Innocent Bonke. Mofi started the game as they're now officially safe in Ligue 1 for the season. They drew 0-0 to Bordeaux away on Saturday night in a big relegation 6-pointer. Bordeaux are now relegated, and Bonke was an unused sub in the game, so they could relax and play their final game at home to Troyes. Been an off-season for Terre Mofi. I mean, he scored 14 league goals last season, and this season I think he's on 9. So it's been a bit of a drop. I don't know if he will be in demand yet, but I'd like to see him play for a team that challenges more than, battles for relegation. But anyway, all good from our league, from our top 5 leagues, and pretty good performances, particularly Taiwo Awoniyi, Victor Osimhen as always. So not really much complaints from us. And of course, Azat Oshuala with her big game coming up. And then moving on to the other leagues in Europe, starting with the Premier League as usual. Zaidu Sanusi started in the final game of the season for Porto in a 2-0 win over Estoril at home. It was more of a victory procession after they won the league last week, courtesy of Zaidu Sanusi's great goal, as I mentioned. Next game for them, they played Tondela on Sunday in the Portuguese Cup final. So a great opportunity for Porto to win the double, and I'm pretty sure they'll do that. Sanusi is also one of the Nigerians that we're guaranteed to see in the Champions League next season. So that's always positive, and looking forward to him continue to push on in both his club career and also for the national team. And in Dutch Eredivisie, we saw Cyril Dessers on the bench in a 1-0 win over Go Ahead Eagles away last week Wednesday. And then he scored on Sunday as they lost 2-1 to Twente at home in the league. I mean, their season pretty much over now, so they could just concentrate on the UEFA Conference League final against Jose Mourinho's Roma, which will be taking place next week Wednesday on the 25th of May. So looking forward to how Dessers performs in that one. It's quite nice to have Nigerian players playing in some of the showpiece continental finals in Europe. Yes, would have liked to see one in the Champions League with Samuel Chukwueze, but hey, he made the semi-finals, so we can't really complain on that one. And then we've got Dessers for Feyenoord, obviously, so hopefully he could pull one over Mourinho and win a continental crown for Feyenoord. Maduka Okoye kept another clean sheet on last week Wednesday, as they beat PC's Wall 3-0. He made 3 saves in the game as well. And officially on Sunday, Maduka helped Sparta Rotterdam avoid relegation. He made four saves in a 3-1 win over Heracles away. So Sparta Rotterdam are safe. They'll be remaining in the Dutch Eredivisie. Maduka Okoye was given a hero's send-off. I mean, it was really, really touching to see, considering the ways Nigerians try to treat him sometimes, even though he's by far our best goalkeeping option. In the summer, we know he'll be moving to Watford, so I will be covering some of the championship performances next season, considering he's our #1 goalkeeper, and hopefully he could help Watford bounce back straight into the Premier League. Watford also announced Ben Foster will be leaving the club at the end of the season, so I think that does Maduka Okoye's chances of becoming the #1 a world of good. So watch this space. Salisu Yusuf started on Thursday night for Royal Antwerp in a 2-1 loss to Anderlecht, and he also came off the bench on Sunday as they lost 3-1 to Club Brugge. So they've kind of ended the season with the whimper, to be fair. They've lost their last 4 games. Well, Salisu Yusuf's had a really, really good season. I mean, finishing top 4 in the Belgian league and also starting the vast majority of games in your first year in what's a better league, considering where he was coming from. It's really, really remarkable. And they end their season away on Sunday against Union Saint-Gilloise, who officially finished second because Club Brugge have won the title. Polonuaciu's Genk lost 2-0 to Ghent at home on Sunday. So they've ended their season with a bit of a whimper as well. And they end their season playing KV Mechelen away on Saturday. On to the Scottish Premiership. Last week Wednesday, we saw Calvin Bassey get an assist as him and Joe Aribo started in a 4-1 win for Rangers over Ross County at home on Wednesday. Balogun also played the whole second half of that game. And then on Saturday, we saw Leon Balogun start with Bassey and Aribo rested as they beat Hearts 3-1 away on Saturday to wrap up their league. They finished second, but we know they've got the big one. Rangers will be playing in the UEFA Europa League final tomorrow night against Eintracht Frankfurt in Seville. probably the biggest game Rangers have had in a long, long time. I'd say in over 20 years for sure, easily. And we know what's at stake. If they win the game, they get into the Champions League. I do have to admit, Eintracht Frankfurt are probably slight favourites here. But, I mean, when you see what Rangers have been able to do throughout, in a one-off game, I'm hoping that they don't miss Alfredo Morelos too much and they're able to just hang in there and get the win so we could have some more Super Eagles players in the Champions League. Speaking of Champions League, we will be seeing Anthony Nwakeme's Trabzonspor in the Champions League next season. He scored yet another goal on Saturday, which is just incredible, to be fair. They beat Altay 2-1 at home, so their league season is almost over. We know they've already clinched the league already. They end their season playing away against Istanbul Başakşehir. So what an incredible season they've had, and looking forward to seeing them play in the tournament. I just want to double check that Trabzonspor have actually made it to the tournament. Oh no, they're going to play in the championship round. So that's a shame to see, because they've allowed Austria and Scotland to overtake them in the UEFA coefficients. So we'll see Trabzonspor in the playoff round, where they'll need to win one of the... We'll see who they play anyway, but they need to qualify for that at this point in time. We may also see Rangers have to qualify in the qualification rounds if they're not able to do it, but hopefully Nwakeme and Trabzonspor will end up in the tournament. Speaking of Champions League qualifiers, we'll also see Bright Osai Samos Fenerbahce in the Champions League qualifiers, although they have a few more games to play if they're able to make it. This is because they're currently second in the league and they need just 1 point, which they could secure on Saturday when they play Yeni Malatyaspor away. He did start last weekend in the 0-0 draw to Ahmed Musa's Fatih Karagümrük, by the way. It'll be good to see him be looked at by Jose Peseiro as well, but I won't be surprised if we see him come back to the Premier League in the summer. I mean, he's not been in the Premier League before. He came from QPR, but I'm sure some Premier League teams are looking at him. Chidozie Awaziem came on for the last 21 minutes last week, Wednesday, for Alanyaspor as they got knocked out of the Turkish Cup semi-final. They lost 3-2 on aggregate and after a 1-1 draw on the night. And then he got injured, so he didn't play in their game at home on Sunday as they beat Gaziantep 3-0. So they're still fifth in the league. That may mean a Europa League qualification spot, but I'll confirm in the future. Their final game of the season is against Fatih Karagümrük away on Sunday. And Ahmed Musa, finally, he did also start the game, which ended 0-0 against Fenerbahce away, and he will be in action to end the season against Alanyaspor at home on Sunday. Shida Ejike in the Russian League for CSKA Moscow started as they lost 1-0 to Krasnodar away on Sunday. They're now fifth in the league, so it's been a disastrous season. And we know that no Russian team is going to be able to play in Europe next year, so I hope he gets a move in the summer, to be honest. They end their season on Saturday with a home game against FC Rostov. And then just to wrap up the podcast, in Czech Republic, we've seen Peter Lajenka and Jirasor. Jirasor scored on Wednesday in the league in a 1-1 draw against Bank Ostrava. And then Slavia Prague lost 2-1 to Sparta Prague in the derby on Sunday. So they're now officially second, and they've ended the season in second place in the league. So pretty sad considering they won the league last season. And then finally, Omonia Nicosia, we saw Abdoulaye Shehu start, and Francouzor played the entire second half in a 5-2 win over Payek away on Saturday in the league. They wrap up their season on Friday with Olympiacos Nicosia on Friday. Star Boy of the Week, we have to give a shout out to our Star Woman of the Week or Star Girl of the Week, Azat Oshoala, for ending the season as the top goal scorer in the Women's La Liga. Incredible achievement. She plays for the best women's side I've ever watched in my life. Like, Barcelona women's are incredible. And hopefully she could end another Champions League crown after winning the Champions League last season. But Star Boy of the Week for me has to be Taiwo Awoniyi. What an incredible season he's had for Union Berlin since his initial loan was made permanent in the summer. To score 15 Bundesliga goals in 31 appearances is no mean feat. And I mean, it's no easy achievement. And this is playing for Union Berlin, who were not necessarily highly fancied by a lot of people in the league. Yes, we know they played in the UEFA Conference League this season, but for them to make the step up to the Europa League now and to only be missing out on Champions League by 1 point to the likes of RB Leipzig, Bayer Leverkusen, Dortmund, Bayern, those are real heavyweights of Germany, is an absolutely phenomenal achievement. Ones to watch for the week. Obviously, we got the Europa League final tomorrow. Make sure you're supporting Jaribo and Calvin Bassey. And if you listen to this, I urge you to watch more Rangers games because you'll see how good Bassey and Jaribo are. So when I hear them being slandered in Nigerian circles, it really, really pisses me off. But yeah, we wish them all the best and I hope that they could win on Wednesday. On Saturday, as Oshuala will be playing in the UCL final for women's against Lyon, the two best teams in women's football for sure. And we know that Lyon have Ada Heidelberg, who's back playing for Lyon after she was injured for a while. So this could be a really, really tasty game. But my money's on Barcelona to win. Salernitana, Joel Obi's team need 1 point to seal there to avoid relegation and remain in Serie A. And they're playing Isaac Success's Udinese on Sunday. Isaac Success is unfortunately injured, but he's had a very decent season himself as well. And then interestingly enough, we've got Samuel Chukwueze playing Barcelona away on Sunday. So that should be an interesting game. And that will pretty much be it for the football season. So the next episode of the podcast next week will be wrapping up pretty much the football season club-wise. And then I'll be doing a preview of our friendly game, what we can expect against Mexico, and also a bit of an end-of-season review for who's shined the brightest, who has let us down a little bit, and who are the ones to watch for next season who are of Nigerian heritage or are Nigerian. Everybody's Nigerian if they're of Nigerian heritage, as far as I'm concerned. So that's it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks again for listening with me. I appreciate everybody who takes the time to watch or listen to the podcast. We're just trying to do our part as always. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on all streaming platforms where you could get a podcast or on our YouTube channel, Nigeria Football Weekly. Remember, you can follow us across our social media channels on Twitter at NFW Pod, Instagram at Nigeria Football Weekly, Facebook.com/Nigeria Football Weekly. And you can also email us, nigeriafootballweekly@gmail.com. So if you've got any interesting thoughts or things you'd like to say, if you've got any sponsors out there for us, that we could maybe try and elevate the podcast or introduce some new segments for next season, that'd be much appreciated. Thanks again to every single listener, and I'll catch you next week. Enjoy all the football for the rest of the week. Peace out. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeria no dey ever carry last.